Hi, it's me, Bill Patton again, and it's time for some more visual training for tennis. Now, one very important aspect that affects the visual is issues of processing delay. And different people have different kinds of delay, and everybody sort of has a relative ability to process visually faster than maybe they hear or you know compared to other people, or the verbal, or the utterance of speech. So some people can hear and listen very quickly, but the formation of the words is not as fast, and vice versa. And so there's a very wide continuum of people's ability in this regard. So one thing that happens is that people who are slow verbal processors, when confronted with quite a bit of verbal information, it's as though the CPU in their brain is so busy with that it takes away then processing time from other things. So you probably encounter, or maybe you can experience this, when people throw a bunch of verbal instructions at you that you can't see what they're talking about immediately. I had an interesting situation when I was teaching math in high school. I had a number of kids in my class that weren't quite getting what I was teaching. So I decided to teach without talking. And so I just put the problems on the board and I worked them out. And then I had a little question mark and I would point to the question mark. And so if they had any questions about what I was doing, then they could ask them. And lo and behold, a couple kids in the class said, "Oh, I finally get it." And so part of the problem was that they were trying so hard to listen to me that they weren't able to follow along visually with what was happening. So you might want to, if you have a chatty doubles partner and it throws you off because they talk so much, you might want to ask them to talk less, or, use very explicit word pictures, right? So that they can show exactly what they want. Now, on a tennis court, what I like to do is I like to say short cross-court return to the side tee, because it's very explicit. There's a target, a specific target to look at. And this is a great way to manage that. If you're teaching tennis, then realize that some of your students might be very quick verbally and they'll appear smarter, but everybody, it's not an indication of intelligence. So I would actually ask you to use less verbal instruction and more demonstration of the stroke and more guiding players through the feeling, keying into the visual and the kinesthetic and less into the verbal. Now, sometimes people have slow visual processing, and I know I have one student who I would say, "Hey, do you see this? Right? What do you notice from this?" And they give me this look like, "I don't understand what you're talking about." And so it's good to be sensitive to that and teach in a different way. Or, if you are much more of a kinesthetic learner, then work with your coach on that you need to know what the feeling is. And I've actually met people who I'm working with who don't seem to be particularly in touch with how they see or how they feel, and they want verbal instructions to accomplish. And it takes me out of my comfort zone as a coach, but I work with them nonetheless. So I just give them objectives and then they achieve the objective and away we go. And it's a little mysterious how that works. So the main points here are: too much verbal can create an interference with the visual, and not enough visual and kinesthetic teaching paired together Also makes it more difficult for the more kinesthetic learner to bridge the gap, so to speak. And you need both to some extent. And then finally, there are outliers. So, if you're an outlier, then it's good for you to start to understand that that might be true, and you might be someone who needs to do things a little bit differently. Anyway, a final thought though, if you are a chatty doubles partner and you find that sometimes your partner is not playing well at times, maybe you want to kind of redirect yourself and use less language and make it very targeted, right? So word images are the best. And as Tim Galway says, feel-mages. So when you express things in ways that people can see and feel, then you got a winner on your hands. All right, please like and subscribe. Take a look at the offer down below and share this video if you found it interesting. Thanks.